Hello, learners! Another video.
Another lesson.
I am Norman O. Pangantihon.
And I am Eric John L. Rosalejos.
In this video, we will together learn the characteristics of 21st century assessment.
So, at the end of this lesson, you are expected to, number 1, demonstrate familiarity with the various characteristics of 21st century assessment. Number 2, reflect on the importance and applications of 21st century assessment.
Students in the 21st century are now advanced, most especially that the technology emerges to be of a great help in making their learning ubiquitous.
In this regard, learning should be assessed in a way which considers the current era of the students, including their new environment, to make it informed, relevant, and valid. But how?
Simple. For us to meaningfully assess the learning of the 21st century learners, we have to know and learn the characteristics of 21st century assessment.
Accordingly, 21st century assessment has 8 characteristics. Number 1, responsive. In assessing students' performance, the students' visible performance-based work must generate data that curriculum and instruction are responsive to their needs. Meaning, the assessed result of the student's performance should respond to the betterment of the curriculum and instruction to better provide the student's needs.
For example, in my CPE 106 class, I discussed about affective domain. For me to know if the class understood the lesson, I will conduct a formative assessment. In a 1/4 sheet of paper, the students will be asked to enumerate and explain the levels of affective domain. Number 2, flexible. Assessment must be adaptable to students' settings rather than the identical approach that works in traditional assessment, making the 21st century approaches more versatile. This means that the assessment should be considerate of the student's state of living and that it should be versatile. Example for this is when you permit an assignment to be submitted as a written text, podcast, video, or oral conversation.
Number 3, integrated. Assessment must also be incorporated into day-to-day practice rather than as add-ons at the end of the instructions or during a single specified week of the school calendar. Meaning, the assessment should be conducted on a daily basis.
For example, the teacher assesses her students from time to time because assessments are not just given at the end. She gives her students formative assessments rather than just giving them summative assessments. Number 4, informative. Teachers must ensure that the desired 21st century goals and objectives are clearly stated and explicitly taught. Moreover, information gathered depicting students' outputs should display their range of emerging knowledge, and skills exemplars routinely guide students towards the achievement of targets. This means that the assessment should be able to inform the students of their newly gained knowledge and skills. For example, before the teacher begins her class, she sees to it that her students are aware of the goals and objectives of her lesson. With that, her students will be guided with their achievements.
Number 5, multiple methods. In this era, an assessment continuum that includes a broad spectrum of strategies is the standard. This means that assessment should not be done through a one-way process only. It must incorporate various strategies to meet the standard.
Example, the teacher knows that her students have different intelligences, so she sees to it that she don't just focus on only one way of assessing their learning. Number 6, communicated. 21st century assessment results and other tangible data must be communicated clearly and transparently to all stakeholders. This only means that the result of the assessment should never be hidden, rather be conveyed clearly to all elements composing the institution. Example: as a teacher, I let my students keep track of their progress by returning their papers or evaluation sheet. I also see to it that I submit my students' grade on time for their parents to be aware of their child's achievements.
Number 7, technically sound. Assessment must be carefully done scientifically. Adjustment and accommodations can be made in the assessment process to meet the student's needs and fairness. It should follow a particular process where necessary adjustments and accommodations should be done along the way.
Example: the teacher makes sure that her assessments are valid, reliable, and supports comparisons since her students have different intelligences, beliefs, gender, and socioeconomic groups. Number 8. Systemic. 21st century assessment is part of a comprehensive and well-aligned assessment system. Hence, the assessment must be balanced and inclusive of all students, constituents, and stakeholders, and is designed to support improvements at all levels. Example: changes are inevitable, so the teacher makes sure that he is able to identify the needs of his students and the community. With that, he will be able to develop his students into globally competitive individuals.
In summary, 21st century assessment should be responsive, flexible, integrated, informative, multiple method, communicated, technically sound, and systemic.
As an overview of our lesson, you can see this mind map for you to be guided.
The 21st century assessment should embody and strictly cleave onto the characteristics presented. These characteristics were plotted and served to help the teachers do assessment in a most efficient way, enabling them to be informed of the teaching-learning processes of the 21st century era, and enhance such processes from time to time to better respond the students' needs.
It is a must to bear them always in mind for the assessment to be valid, relevant, and informed. And of course, to ascertain its benefits for all elements constituting the educational institution, most especially the students who are the eyes of it.
And that concludes our lesson.
We are positively hoping that you have gained a great and meaningful learning.
See you in the next video.